trophy down, two still to play for. The season is reaching its conclusion and everything still hangs in the balance. This is Beyond the Whistle. I am your host, Matty Kay, and I'm joined, as always, by Grace Wild.
Hello, how are you, Matty?
Oh, I'm not happy this week. I'm fuming. I'm just not a happy person this week.
I mean, to be fair, I did think we would both be rather depressed today, but I think City beating Arsenal in the Carabao Cup probably softened the blow slightly.
Definitely, we're going to jump on that. I know we if you've not seen this before, we do talk about the Premier League. We'll go through fixture by fixture in order that they happened. If you want to skip to your club, you're more than welcome to, but please try not to listen to us all because, well, Grace knows what she's talking about, and I'm sometimes funny. But how's it not? We yeah, we go game by game, and if you've not seen us, just hit follow, hit like, hit subscribe, do whatever you want to do, whatever platform you're listening to. You all know you get told by every content creator that you're listening to. Grace, I've got some things that I want to pick out today because I'm not happy with when it comes to the certain fan bases.
Oh, first of all, I want to add you're doing yourself really dirty there. You do know what you're talking about. Come on now. Second of all, go for it.
Uh, well, first off, right. I mean, if you're not seen this before, I'm a Tottenham fan, unfortunately, and unfortunately, Grace is a West Ham fan. So, yeah, we're both really stuck in the mud at the minute. I'll talk about the Tottenham problems that I got first. We are going to get onto the actual breaking down of the game eventually, but I just wanted to point out these couple of things. Um, Igor Tudor, he wasn't in the press conference for an immediate family passing away. In the media, apparently it's his father. Condolences to him and his family. It's a terrible time. But what I wanted to point out is I've seen people on social media who wasn't happy with this. Apparently wasn't happy with him walking away and not doing press conferences. Shut up, don't care. What I
Yeah.
don't, if someone's just lost their father, what are you playing at? Why are you complaining? There's bigger problems in the world. Football isn't the be all and end all, no matter what you say it is. Don't want to be seeing stuff like that. It's absolutely terrible. Um, the second thing I wanted to point out, have you seen this? I know, and I understand it's a derby, but the Newcastle Sunderland, as the Sunderland team bus pulled in to the Newcastle, have you seen bottles being thrown at the coach?
I haven't, but I'm not shocked.
Neither am I, but I just wanted to point out why. What are we doing this for, man? Like, there's just no need for it. I get it's a derby, and I get it's rivalry, and I get it's football, but come on, what are we playing at? And you don't need to be doing stuff like that. You don't need to be putting people's lives and stuff at risk or risk of injury or hurting anyone like that. And I'm all for a bit of rivalry, a bit of banter, but throwing bottles at, and I mean, this driver, that's just his job. You know what I mean? He just
Yeah.
drives buses for a living. We don't need to be seeing stuff like this. And it really put me in a bit of a shit mood for the weekend. I mean, on top of already losing as it is, but yeah, I don't want to be seeing stuff like this from fans.
No, I totally agree. I think the Tudor thing is a massive point because at the end of the day, I think some people don't understand that there are bigger things in life than football, and sometimes those things have to get the priority. Like, yeah, it is beyond me that people think that's unacceptable. Like you said, you try and do it. Do you know what I mean? That is just beyond like that angers me. And second of all, it's something we've seen a lot. I mean, I know West Ham fans have been guilty of it in the past, throwing bottles at coaches and things like that. The problem is it it only takes one of those bottles to ricochet and hit back on a young fan or any fan, and someone getting hurt and also the damage that it does to the coaches and things like that. The players aren't the ones that are having to clean that. They're just people who have nothing to do with it, and that's their job to do, like, to service those coaches and to keep them in good nick. Why you haven't got to do that? Do you know what I mean? It just feels so unnecessary, and you're not actually having any sort of effect on anybody, are you? It is just the most useless thing in the world, and someone's going to get hurt, and I'm sure they already have done. I'm sure they have, because bottles are, throwing bottles is bloody dangerous. So yeah, I know, I totally agree with you. Fully back you on those 2 points.
Yeah, you just don't need to see it, mate. And look, again, we'll get onto it, but I'm sure you've seen the support that Tottenham gave as
Mhm.
the team bus was coming in. And yeah, look, do you know what? Was there any trouble? Personally, I didn't see any, but there probably was. There probably was some people doing stuff that they wasn't supposed to be doing. But as far as I'm aware, there wasn't actually any trouble. I didn't see any people getting arrested. I didn't see any fights breaking out. It just doesn't need to be done. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, yeah, come on, like I don't want to be seeing stuff like this. But anyway, rant
No,
over. Talk about some football, Grace.
yeah, absolutely.
We have a little chat about the Carabao Cup. Obviously, one trophy is already down. Arsenal nil, Man City 2. I actually went to the Tottenham game, so I didn't see any of this. But I know. Did you see most of it? I think, didn't you?
I saw the whole lot. Yeah, it was a game of two halves, really.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're a Premier League podcast. We'll keep this one brief, but it's worth mentioning. It is a trophy at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and it does have an impact on the Premier League. At the end of the day, these are the two going for the title. I think a lot of us thought Arsenal would probably pip City to the post yesterday. I think a lot of us went into it thinking Arsenal are going to start off their trophy winning season, but I mean, City just showed them how to win a final. To be honest with you, that second half, Arsenal were well off of it, well off of it. I actually saw bad performances from the likes of Declan Rice, which are very, very rare. And yeah, City just put them to bed. It was just, it was as if they were 5-0 down coming towards the end of it. There was no one really trying. And fair play, City. They came into it probably the underdogs, really. And how is my interest is always the psychological effects. How is this going to affect the title race? How is this going to affect Arsenal's mentality? Because the one thing I would say is I think Arsenal mentally aren't as strong as City have been in the past when they've won titles. I think something like this could really cause them a problem. I might be wrong, and it could be a very simple end to the season and not have any sort of backlash, any sort of effect. But who knows? This one just it felt like it spiced up the Premier League a little bit. This win for City.
Yeah, I was going to question you about the psychology side of it, but I think you sort of already covered it there. Yeah, look, one thing I will give sort of Pep and Man City credit for is they do tend to take these cups quite serious, and it's kind of given it a new bit of life because the League Cup and the FA Cup had sort of dwindled off, in my opinion, a little bit. But Pep does take them seriously. He does try and win them, and I quite like to see that.
Yeah, so do I, and I like it as well because he he took it seriously, but he kept some players in. Like Trafford started for City, and to be fair, Arsenal did the same thing. They had Kepa in goal, but when you've got Donnarumma, you're going to seriously consider that, aren't you? So I was really pleased that he kept Trafford in, and Trafford had a great game. He made some great saves early on in the game. He made a triple save, I think. Really good. He really deserved that at the end. And I just think that shows a real level of respect to your players. It shows a real stability in the squad. I mean, I want to talk about O'Reilly. I know we're not going to spend too much time on this, but I tell you what, England should be all over O'Reilly because that is something that he'll be found out at some point as a left back that pushes forward. He will be. But right now, going into a World Cup, I'm not sure that many people will be expecting the left back of O'Reilly to be pushing forward like he does. And he's just not marked. He's just not marked. And he took his two goals very well yesterday, and that could be an absolute secret weapon for England this summer.
Yeah, fair enough. We're going to move on. We'll move on to the Premier League because that is what we're here for. But yeah, congratulations, Man City, and thank you on behalf of everybody. Bournemouth 2, Man United. Yeah, Bournemouth 2, Man United 2, Friday night game. I love a Friday night game, Grace. Right, I did promise on the last podcast we'd do a little bit of Bruno chat. And he impressed again, didn't he, during this game?
He's just fabulous. He's just I can't begin to explain. Like he's not just technically good. Like that's almost the standard of his position in most teams. He doesn't just produce those performances. He's just a leader. He just has the mentality that United have so needed this season. And I just really respect him. I do. I really respect him as a player. I think, he scored, his penalties are lethal. Let's be honest, his penalties are lethal. And some of the balls he puts into the box, the corners he takes, it's just, yeah, I cannot speak higher of someone like Bruno Fernandes. And I know people say about his whining and all that sort of stuff. That's just modern day football. Maybe he does it a little bit more than others, but I look at someone like Paqueta, for example, who was at West Ham. I mean, it's not even a conversation, and I'm not even talking technically. I'm talking in terms of his attitude, his mentality, his push, his drive. He embodies everything that Man United have lost in the last sort of 10 years since Fergie left, really. I just, yeah, I really love him. I could bang on about him for hours.
I think Bruno might be one of these sort of players that's appreciated a lot more once he's left the Premier League. I think what you said there about the sort of theatrics that he gives out on the pitch, it puts a real dampener on his sort of performance
Yeah,
and
yeah.
screaming and stuff like that. And look, I get it, but it does sort of put a dampener on sort of like how people look at him. I do think people are going to look in the next 10 years. People are going to look back and go, "Do you know what? Fair play," because he's done it, and he's done it in a poor United side as well. All right, they're getting these signs of progress now, but ultimately they have been quite poor. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, go on, no, you carry on.
I was just going to say he's done it in that time period for United. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, look, I promise we'll give a little bit of a chat on him. So we've covered it.
Yeah, he's just a consistency beast. Do you know what I mean? He very rarely does anything that's under an 8 out of 10.
I wanted to ask you a question actually because I was talking about this in the pub the other day, and I was saying, do you know, we was talking sometimes about players like Saka and stuff are a bit overhyped, and players like Bruno who are maybe not talked about enough. Do you think FPL has a big influence on how people see players? Because they see players sort of returning numbers or not returning numbers and blanking for weeks on end, and they see it as, oh, he's done nothing for that during that game whatsoever because he's blanked on FPL. Whereas if you actually look outside of that game, they've done a lot more on the pitch than what the stats may say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think FPL is the new FIFA. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, everybody seemed to judge players on their FIFA stats and what they could do with them when they were playing as them on the game, rather than the actual eye test of seeing what they put into a game. And that's the for me what I love about football is generally stats wise you could be poor in terms of other players, in comparison and in comparison to other games even. But what you provide on the pitch isn't necessarily reflected in the stats and what you do for a team. And I often try to appreciate those positions. And I've always been like this, probably since Declan Rice was at West Ham, because he was that type of player that wasn't, banging in goals left, right, and centre. But what he did on the pitch was vital for everything we did at West Ham. And I think FPL that's a great point. That's a really great point because you're right. People like to put numbers to things. People like to have categories and they like to categorically rank them. And I just don't think it's as easy as that.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, go on. I know you like to break down each goal. Do you want to talk us through this Bournemouth Man United game? Because there was a bit of penalty dramas, wasn't there, during this?
There was. So boring first half. Yeah, it was 0-0 at half time. Thought, I thought this one would be 3-2 to Man United, and someone put in my comment section on Instagram, oh, it's definitely not going to be 3-2. Um,
That's
we were close.
That's why
Go
I
on.
texted you because I read it wrong because I was in the pub at the time and I'd had quite a few by this point. So when I saw your predictions, I thought you'd put 2-2, and then I texted you at the end of the game saying great prediction, and I had to delete it because I realised the next morning I was like, oh, look right it.
No,
No,
but to be fair, at half time, I don't think anybody would have said that that would have ended 2-2.
no, possibly not. But I want, yeah, in case you did see the message, I wasn't taking the mic. I genuinely thought he said 2-2.
I didn't think you were taking a mick. Come on now. I didn't think that. Um, anyway, so it started off with United getting a penalty. It was definitely a penalty. Fernandez absolutely buried that. This is where the controversy comes in, though, because I think Man United think they should have had another penalty. And the problem is it wasn't given. And then Christie went up the other end and scored, to be fair, a screamer. It was a really nice finish. Um, actually, I'm going to ask you, what do you think of this? Have you seen it?
Yeah, well, it was on in the pub. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did. I had an eye on it. Probably not as detailed as I would have liked, but yeah, I was watching the game. Yeah, I think United are well within their rights to argue that that should have been a penalty.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was soft, but I've definitely seen them given. I mean, I guess the argument is such a difficult argument with penalties these days. Does the contact bring Ahmad down? Does the fact that Ahmad goes down almost make that look more theatrical? I don't know, but I definitely know I've seen them given, and I think especially because it meant they conceded straight afterwards, that one's going to be a tough one to take.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, United got the noses back in front. It was a Hill own goal. I think it was a Fernandez corner, I believe. and it was just a bad defensive header. Let's be honest. I think I thought Maguire got a touch on it, but it turns out it was all Hill. And they were 2-1 up. Then Harry Maguire got himself a red card. It was silly. It was silly. It was denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It was always going to be given. Those are just given these days. You know, I think it was one of those he wasn't thinking moments. And then Bournemouth managed to make it 2-2 from the penalty that came from Harry Maguire's denial of a goal scoring opportunity. And it was a really nice penalty by Creepy, actually. Creepy's a youngster, isn't he? I think he's quite young. I might be wrong. I think he's quite young, but he took that really well. He was really quite calm when he took that. And it ended 2-2. It was a good game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the second half. From what I remember of it. But yeah, we as soon as I seen that Harry Maguire penalty, that yeah, he's given all day long. Stupid. We saw a similar situation with Mickey Van de Ven, didn't we? In I
Yeah,
think Champions League, I think it was. Yeah, well, you can't argue with that. And I know he's putting up a protest to the referee, but come on, mate, you was never going to get away with that one, was you?
no, no, absolutely not. And there's another one. I'm sure there's another one in this game week of denial of a goal scoring opportunity.
Should we jump into Brighton 2, Liverpool 1? Danny Welbeck and James Milner absolutely taking Liverpool for a spin.
They This was an interesting one, actually. I enjoyed this one. I felt Liverpool were quite wasteful again. I did feel they were quite wasteful. But some decent saves from both keepers. It is worth mentioning. There were definitely some decent saves, but Welbeck, man, like, can right. I know we're getting off topic slightly here. How is Welbeck not being considered for England? How?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, see, when the England team selection sort of got announced, I was surprised Solanke was in there, to be honest, because he's not played much with it being out injured. Um, I was surprised, and I think Danny Welbeck's put himself out there for it.
Yeah, and I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. Like he's not
But
been great the
he
last
is in
couple
the
of
squad though.
games. Yeah, that's what I mean. As in he's in the squad, and actually, I would argue Welbeck's been in more of a sort of
Yeah.
a patch of form for much longer than Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been. I mean, he took his goals so well. It was a back post header for his first one, and then it was such a poacher's goal. I loved it. I loved Welbeck and everything he does as a striker. He just embodies that number nine. And yeah, he has been awesome, and I'm fuming that he's not been considered for England.
Is it just because of his age?
That's the only thing I can think of. That's it.
I mean, he's only 35 though. Who cares if you still bang him in the back of the net? Who cares how old you are?
Exactly. It's not like the World Cup's in 2 years, is it?
Yeah, no, yeah, got a fair point. Yeah, no, I think he's put his well, he should have put his name fairly into the conversation. And yeah, I'm quite surprised with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, whether he plays or not is a different conversation. But you get to those, you play the group stages, and a lot of the time, hopefully, England will find themselves qualified before that final game. And you tend to play that sort of B team in that third game of the group stages. And he's the type of player that he's on form. There's no harm in it. I think sometimes we get so obsessed with names and who they play for and all that sort of thing. There has to be a level of meritocracy when it comes to England. And if he's in form, it feels stupid to leave him at home.
Absolutely. There's been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, haven't they, about Liverpool? We spoke about this numerous times during the run of this podcast for this season. Yeah, come on, what's going on?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. I think weirdly, I would say they sort of missed Mo Salah a bit. I thought the Liverpool game. I was starting to the Liverpool game, the Tottenham game at Anfield. I know they drew that game, but I felt like I was starting to maybe see a bit of old Mo Salah again. I felt like I was, seeing that creativity again, seeing that I don't know how to describe it, but that confidence maybe. And he was out for this one, and I just felt they probably could have. No, who knows? Because he's been pretty Jekyll and Hyde himself this season. More one actually, pretty shit this season. Can't lie. Um, it's a difficult one. Liverpool are in a position where it feels like they've got all the pieces of the puzzle, but they're not fitting together. Type situation. I don't think Slot makes that easier. I don't see Slot there next season. I think it's only a matter of time, and I imagine mentally, that's quite hard to play games when you're pretty sure your manager's not going to be there in long term.
Well, we spoke about this last week, didn't we? I think I don't think the noise would be as loud with Slot if Xavi wasn't waiting in the wings. But
Mhm,
yeah. Well, there's two questions I wanted to ask you really. I think
mhm.
there's a lot of question marks over Liverpool's defence as well this season. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask you: will Liverpool make the top four, and do they sack Slot at the end of the season?
Yes, they sacked Slot at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And honestly, I cannot tell you whether they'll make the top four or not because they're so unpredictable. They are so hard to pin down. You can't look at a Liverpool game at the moment and go, they'll get 3 points there. You just can't do it. I think even they're going, oh, who knows? Because it's not like, for example, West Ham in the sense of staying up. You feel a little bit confident because of the performances we put in. You never know. It feels a little bit more 60-40 towards staying up. I genuinely think it's a 50-50. I genuinely think it is. It depends when they turn up, if they turn up, how often they turn up. And it also depends on, Villa getting 3 points this weekend was massive. That top four is quite squeezed, and there's a few going for it. I think Villa made a big statement. They've got Tielemans and McGinn back in midfield, and we'll go into that in the Villa West Ham game. But I think it's becoming increasingly harder for Liverpool to play this flipping a coin type football. And I think it might lead to them not getting it.
Yeah, well, look, I think the teams below Liverpool are closer to them than they are Villa. I think Liverpool, they're on 49. They're chasing down Villa on 54. And then below Liverpool, you've got Chelsea on 48, Brentford on 46, Everton on 46. So, yeah, look, it is going to be tough. I think, was it announced today that something like seventh spot can still get Champions League if certain things fall the right way or something like that?
Oh,
It's
I've heard that before. I've definitely heard it before, so I wouldn't be
It's
surprised.
something like if Villa win the Europa League and Liverpool win the
Mhm.
Champions League and they both finish in a certain position in the league, someone will be able to word that a lot better than what I just did. Um,
I know what
as
you mean.
well, someone if they do sack Slot at the end of the season, when was the last time a Premier League team sacked their manager after winning them the league? This isn't a quiz question because I actually don't know, but and it probably has happened, and there'll be someone listening who has just who just knows off the top of their head. But
Yeah,
did anything come to your mind?
maybe Pellegrini at City.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe
What about Leicester when they won the league? Did they keep theirs?
Ranieri. That's a shout.
I don't. Was he sacked?
Yeah, he was sacked. Maybe one of the Chelsea bosses.
Hmm. Yeah, possibly. I no, it was just a thing that came to my head. But someone will be able to tell us because
Yeah,
people's football knowledge is insane, man.
yeah,
Should we move on? Fulham three,
yeah,
Burnley one.
yeah. This was Burnley opened the scoring for this one. It was a lovely finish for Fleming. He had a great opportunity that I think was saved by Leno early on. Um, yeah, he's great. I could see somebody picking him out. If I'm pretty sure Burnley are going to go down. It's not mathematically the case, but we're pretty sure they will. I think someone might pick him out because he's decent. He is. Nice finish from him. He had far too much space. Fulham really switched off. Um, but then Fulham just turned it on as they usually do. Josh King, I believe this was this his first Premier League goal. I think it might be.
Probably.
I think it might be, and it was not, it wasn't a classic finish, but he was relentless. He put pressure on the keeper, and the keeper absolutely muddled it. And it was 1-1. Then it was Wilson doing exactly what we've been banging on about, what Wilson does all season. He's just unbelievable. I absolutely love Wilson. He just comes inside left foot. It's lethal. You cannot give Harry Wilson that space. That's 2-1 Fulham. And then another denial of a goal scoring opportunity, red card. This was Lauren. I think that it felt a little bit soft, if I'm honest with you, but I'm not surprised it was given. And then from that, Jimenez scored the penalty to make it 3-1 Fulham, and that seemed like a nice one actually, because I believe Jimenez lost his father this week. So I think that was a nice tribute that he could pay. So yeah, all our condolences go to him and the family, if I am correct. But yeah, Fulham 3, Burnley 1. It was pretty dominant from Fulham once they got on the score sheet.
Yeah, yeah, you are correct about that as well. I'd seen that come through. Yeah, condolences to him and the family. Uh, yeah, look, I've not really got too much to say about this. It was just sort of what I expected. I didn't expect Burnley to go 1-0 up. I did expect a Fulham win, and that was just about it, really. It's just sort of routine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fulham sort of turned it on. Wilson doing Wilson things, like you've said. We've been saying about it all season. That's it. I've got nothing else to add.
No, I mean it just went the way I expected to, and but Burnley scored. That's literally it.
Yeah, it wasn't really much of a shock. What was a shock though was Everton 3, Chelsea nil. And now I say it's a shock. I wasn't surprised Everton won this game. I'm surprised that they sort of won very comfortably.
I thought Chelsea were awful. I thought they were completely outclassed. Did you see this one?
Was this was the evening game on Saturday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
No, I was out drinking again. That's all I've done all week is all weekend is just drink and oh my body is telling me to very stop very quickly. No, is really your answer to this. I did see the Ndai goal, which we're going to get onto.
Yeah, I mean, Everton just outclassed them. Everton were awesome. They would the Everton that I saw a couple of weeks ago, though I was waxing lyrical about their performance. I've forgotten who it was against. But it was a brilliant performance from Everton. Fully deserved. Sometimes we see scorelines and they're not deserved. They feel like you feel like they're a bit complimentary. This wasn't. This was Everton 3-0, and it deserved to be Everton 3-0. I mean, Beto got a brace, a really nice finish, and then poor keeping, to be honest with you, to make it 2-0. But Beto just doing what Beto does. I think we actually have some really good strikers in the league at the moment. And Moyes is really making Beto into a great little striker, to be fair. Really uses his physicality. I particularly liked his first goal. I think he just took it well. Another awesome save from Pickford, really good. I mean, it wasn't quite the one from a couple of weeks ago, but it was a very nice save. And then Ndai, take it away with Ndai. What did you see about this goal?
I don't think you can get any more top bins. I did see
No,
someone, mate, people wind me up online, man. Someone in the comment section was like, "We'll lose a bit of a gap." Shut up. Just shut up. What are you talking about? You were not getting any more top bins than that. It was
no.
unbelievable finish.
Exactly. And he's just a special player. I really like watching him play football. And 100% the first thing I have written down about that Ndiaye goals is top bins. Because like you said, I don't think you can really get too much more top bins.
Well,
Just absolutely delicious. Loved it.
while we're talking about this, it's probably a good time to talk about what Grace does on our social media page. Grace does a little goal of the week every week for us where she breaks down her goal of the week. Grace, what is your goal of the week this week?
My goal of the week this week is great question. I had a couple this week because there wasn't a real outstander. But I think I've gone for Gibbs White's goal against Tottenham.
Well,
Sorry, it was an
uh,
excellent finish.
we're going to get onto it anyway, so I've got question marks over that one to be fair, but all right, we'll get to that. But yeah, if you want to see Grace talk about that in full depth, head over to our TikTok or Instagram page. You can find it on either of them, I think. Anyway, I don't. Grace does that bit, but yeah, she breaks down and she does it very, very well. Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
on. Will Liam Rossini be sacked, Grace?
I'd love to say no, but it's the Chelsea board, so who knows? Possibly. But don't you think? I mean, we're not. We have normal jobs. We're not anything special necessarily in football. We just like talking about it. We predicted this would happen because he is young and it was a step too far. I'm sorry, but we predicted it. There is evidence.
If he gets sacked anytime soon, I'm going back through every single comment that we've ever received on this Liam Rossini thing because I got absolute shade thrown at me for saying I think it's a step too soon. But and you know what? I really do like Liam as a person.
Mhm.
Obviously his nana was from Hull, which is where I am. So I don't know him. We've heard of his family being knocking around and stuff. By all accounts, he's an absolutely lovely bloke. But he's just become an absolute meme for the Premier League and.
Yeah,
I think people are a bit harsh on some of the things that he comes out with. Yeah, all right, he doesn't help himself with like the man and the age and all that sort of stuff. But I see what he's trying to do. From what I've seen behind the scenes, it looks like he's trying to be sort of like the player's mate,
yeah.
rather than the manager, and he's trying to be a bit too friendly with them. And I don't think it's really sort of reflecting very well on the squad. Uh,
I just don't think it matches Chelsea, don't you think? I think
yeah,
if that was done at West Ham, at Everton, at Brighton, you'd maybe get away with it. But at Chelsea, they're too cutthroat. You have to be a bastard, don't you?
well, that's the kind of club that we were suggesting when he was first linked, wasn't it? I think I actually
Mm-hmm.
said Crystal Palace because obviously
Yes.
Glasner, is it Glasner? Yeah,
Yeah, guys.
he's
Yeah.
leaving at the end of the season, isn't he? So yeah, I think I sort of pointed it in that direction. But yeah, that's the type of club where you can sort of see that vibe, as the kids are calling it.
Yeah.
Or considering, I heard someone say he's got negative aura, whatever that means. I don't know. But yeah, look, I like him as a bloke, but he's not cutting it. I think he's got to give him time. I still think it's too early. You've got to give him next season, maybe to January. It's probably not for us to say. That's for the Chelsea fans to say. But what I did point out, and I think we spoke about this when it was announced, I think they slapped him on a 7-year deal, didn't they? Which this cannot be good financially for Chelsea just to be handing out these contracts to managers like this. It's mental.
Yeah, it is. And I think, to be honest with you, they're being found out a little bit now. I mean, I think we spoke about the suspended transfer ban, was it, last week, because it broke while we were recording, I think. Um, these things, they just don't, they're going to be highlighted as a problem. Whether they get actually justified punishment for it is a completely different conversation. But they're going to be highlighted as being a problem. And I think we all highlighted it as football fans going, how are they getting away with this? I mean, they'll have to pay out, won't they? If they sack him on a 7-year contract, they'll pay out. But do they worry about that? I'm not sure.
So I think usually what happens in this case is he wouldn't get paid the full 7 years. I don't think. I think there'll be something in his contract that says,
Yeah.
yeah, if he's sacked early, he might get 2 years compensation or a year and a half or something. We don't really know because there'll be so much into these contracts that none of us will even know about. But I don't think it'll be the full 7. I can't see it being full 7 because that just bankrupts every club, like every club if everyone starts doing that. But that's probably why
Mhm.
people don't do it. It's a mental decision to do it in the first place. But yeah, look, let's just see what happens. Chelsea fans have to comment and let us know what they think.
Yeah.
Whether they want him to stay or to go. Has he even had a transfer window yet? Didn't they bring him in the new year after Maresca had?
Yeah. Maresca was sacked on New Year's Day. I
He's
remember
they
that.
will have got sort of got a transfer. But yeah, but they held off quite a while, didn't they, before announcing it?
Yeah, they might have done.
So
Yeah, and did they even bring many people in Chelsea? Did they even bring anybody in?
I don't know. To be honest, I think
I
that's
don't think they brought anybody in.
I think that's Todd. But is Todd Bowley in it who just chucks money around for fun? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Let Chelsea
Yeah.
fans can get in the comments and just let us know. Leeds nil, Brentford nil. I don't think either of us have got much to say about this, have they? It's not the sort of game that you want on an 8 o'clock Saturday night, but it is what it is. Leeds have a bit of a goal drought at the moment, and it was a good defensive display from Brentford. That's all we've got for you. There's literally not much else to say on this.
Yeah, I mean, I've to add, I'd probably say every shot on target was straight at the keeper. Didn't necessarily challenge, well, near about everyone. I'm pretty confident in saying that. I think the only thing we can really discuss because it's a decent point for Brentford. I think they probably would have looked for more considering the position they're in and what they could be striving for. But I think for Leeds, it's more dangerous because that's another point. Yes, it's a draw. It's a point on the table, but is it enough? They are still in this realm of conversation. They're not far away from us, and you just think, you know, who knows? They might be dragged back into it. It it felt it felt like for me, Leeds needed to get something from this that was more than a point. Do you know what I mean? It needed to be three. At Ellen Road, I think Ellen Road sort of petered out as being this season. I mean, as an all timer, it's a brilliant stadium, but this season it feels like it's petered out a little bit as being a bit of a fortress and difficult to go to. And yeah, I just think it leaves Leeds still in quite a dangerous position.
Oh yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, I think like Brentford, they'll take a draw. If you, what's the phrase? If you can't win a game, don't lose it. And I think
Yeah.
they're sort of happy with that. Um,
Mhm.
in terms of a win, would have seen them on 48 level with Chelsea, which it would have really put them in strong contention for Europe. I mean, they already are
Mhm.
in contention for it, but it would be a really good shout for it. I've already said I think Keith Andrews has smashed it out the park this season. I think they were tips to be relegated. If he makes Brentford a European team next season, he's the manager of the season for me, without a
Yeah,
doubt. So yeah,
and me.
good point for both clubs, isn't it? Really. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. I think Leeds needed something more out of this than Brentford did.
yeah, yeah.
Shall we move on to the second? What's it called? The Tyneside derby, I think, in it. That's the one.
The time we're derby, this one.
Derby. Newcastle 1, Sunderland 2. Like we've spoke about it. No more. Don't be throwing bottles at buses. Other than that, let's focus on the game, Grace.
Well, I think Newcastle really came out the gates like it was a timely derby and they were at home and they did get a goal fairly early on. It was a massive defensive mistake and Gordon absolutely slotted it into the back of the net, made it 1-0 Newcastle. But it's at that point Newcastle should have put this game to bed because Sunderland were not letting go. This one was not going to be easily lost. And the second half was scrappy from Sunderland. You know that the equaliser they got from Talby was scrappy. There's no doubt, but they just were relentless. Do you know what I mean? I know that there was a T or disallowed goal because Murphy was obstructing the keeper, so it would have been 2-1 Newcastle had Murphy not been obstructing the keeper. Go
Was
on.
that, was that the one that came from a corner?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I watched it about an hour before we started recording. I couldn't remember if it was that one or the Villa game that it happened in. Uh, I'm happy that that was ruled out.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, I think so.
People can say it's soft or whatever, but we've seen that much like sort of turmoil when it comes to corners this season. Yeah, I think it's about time that people start taking
Mhm.
stuff. You can't be blocking the keeper like that. Like you
No.
can't stand in front of him and expect the goal to be allowed. You're blocking his view. You're blocking his mobility. And look, you can argue that keepers in the past have been overprotected. He's still got to have to like be physically able to do his job. And you standing in front of him, blocking him from moving, isn't he's not allowed to do
Mhm.
his job. No, I'm perfectly fine with that being ruled out.
Yeah, and I see that sort of stuff. I'm not saying, look, I love Jacob Murphy. I can wax lyrical about Jacob Murphy, but I see that as being part of that dark arts sentence. Do you know what I mean? I don't really, I don't like it. It's all tactical. It's all, you know, I haven't got the quality to be in, so I'm just going to do it in a dirty way type situation that I don't love to see. I think the Premier League's better than that. And I think that's the annoyance in some ways with what Arsenal do. But no, I totally agree. I think that was well worthy of being disallowed, and it was. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to complain about that one.
Yeah, losing twice to your rivals who have just been promoted, he's going to sting in it. But we spoke about Eddie Howe being under fire in the past. This just does not help him, does it?
No, it doesn't because Sunderland haven't been in great form going into this one. And look, I'm the first person to say that derbies and cup final days are about who wants it more. It's not necessarily about form. It's not, there's so much energy and emotion involved in it. It's about who wants it more. And I think you could probably see that in the Carabao Cup yesterday because I think City wanted it more. Sunderland they were relentless. I mean, Brobby got the goal, what, on the 94th minute or something, and Brobby fully deserved that goal because he was awesome yesterday. He just was a nuisance the whole game. Fully deserved that goal, and I thought it was a good derby overall.
Yeah, you know, I like to do my breaking headlines when they come through while we're on this podcast. De Zerbi has come out and has stated he is open to the Spurs job. And also, Botman undergoes surgery. So there we go. There's two little breaking headlines that have just come through for you. Yeah, in terms of Sunderland's form, they actually, in the last sort of 5 games, they're actually above Newcastle by 1 point. In the table order for form, it's Sunderland 10, Newcastle 11, according to this app anyway. But yeah, not surprised because Sunderland
Mhm.
do like to put up a fight in these sort of games. And like you said, like anything sort of goes in a derby. But yeah, I think we've stated before, haven't we? Was Sunderland were very happy with where they were. I think again they were tipped to be relegated. We've just been promoted. We've just been promoted. That's not a word. Just been promoted. And then I said to you after this recent form, I think they'll just be happy to finish above Newcastle. And
Yeah.
where are they now? They are 11th and 12th. So yeah, I think Sunderland will be miles happier than Newcastle this season. There was one question I wanted to ask you actually was have Newcastle progressed or regressed since they won the cup?
Oh, good question.
Or have you stayed? Or
Um,
have you stayed the same? Because like, was it the FA Cup that they won? or the League Cup. I can never remember which way around it was.
Oh, I've forgotten.
League Cup, I think.
It wasn't the FA Cup because Palace won that.
Well, that'll be the League Cup then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I mean, yeah. Yeah, well, they have regressed, haven't they? Because there was fighting. They got Champions League, didn't they, last season, and they won
Hmm.
the cup, which was amazing for them. And this season, it's just been very flat. And I think there's talks today of Liam Delap being linked with Newcastle, which I'm surprised because you've got Visser and Voltemada in there, and Voltemada like hit the ground running when he first started. I just don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. Things just aren't clicking for Newcastle.
Yeah, I maybe they just need, and I'm not saying Eddie Howe should be sacked because I think there's a difference between Eddie Howe needing to be sacked and just having a fresh face with fresh ideas going into it. I think they're two separate things. I wouldn't, Newcastle are trying to be a team that are getting Champions League football pretty consistently. And for me, they need to get a certain type of manager in to do that. And I think a name, Eddie Howe isn't necessarily attracting players at the moment. Whereas I do think that plays a big part, having a manager who somebody wants to play for, who big names want to play for. It's why the power of getting someone like Jose Mourinho in, it does attract certain players. And I just think this might be I'm starting to think Eddie Howe maybe isn't going to push them to that level, isn't going to attract those type of players, and maybe they just need to take a risk. I'm not saying that Eddie Howe deserves to be sacked. I'm just saying maybe they need a fresh face with fresh ideas.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. We spoke, haven't we, about how it's sort of hard as well for Newcastle to get players geographically when obviously players do tend to be fair a London move. But I think you're spot on as well with the manager. You want to play for a big name, don't you? You want to play for a big like a Jose Mourinho or Jurgen Klopp or whoever. You want to play for those sort of managers. I just don't think Eddie Howe's got that factor.
No, and I think you only have to look at someone like City, for example. Forget the pull City has. Think about the players that would want to play under Pep. Do you know what I mean? He has his own pull, and you think he probably attracts a hell of a lot of players because you want to be molded by Pep Guardiola. That's the thing is there's so much attraction around that. There is none of that attraction around Eddie Howe, and that's nothing against Eddie Howe. That's just the reality of the European scene, if you like. Pep and Man City they're a match made in heaven type situation because who doesn't want to play under Pep?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very poor day for all London teams, except Fulham, really. But West Ham lost 2-0 to Villa. Talk us through this one, Grace.
This was This one stung. This one stung. I think there's a lot of different parts that I could dive into. There was a late lineup change for us. We were going to stick to what we played against City and play five at the back, or three at the back, however you want to say it. But that had to change because in the warm up, Tadibo got injured, and I personally wouldn't have made a formation change. I would have maybe stuck Wan-Bissaka in the right side of a back three and put Kyle Walker-Peters in at right wing back. But he decided to go for a formation change. It was one of those. It was either going to work brilliantly and he'd be the man of the moment, or it was going to work terribly. I'm not going to hold him to that. It was a tough decision to make. And we went to a back four and it just didn't work. It just really set us off badly. And what didn't help was the fact that Villa were awesome. Villa were brilliant yesterday. McGinn is just such an important player for them. In so many ways, I just think he carries the heartbeat of Villa, and I just think, since Grealish left, he's sort of been the heart and soul of Villa as a team, and he just motivates people around him. He's quality as well. They're starting to get, Tielemans came on for the first time since he got injured in January yesterday. It just things things sort of came together for Villa yesterday. They're just quality around them. It's any side would find it difficult to play against that Villa side yesterday. The problem is we just, I think, made it a bit too easy for them. It's slightly worrying because you do obviously worry that it's going to have a psychological effect, and you sort of lose that momentum. But we have had these losses recently in terms of Chelsea away and Liverpool away, where they absolutely could have smashed our momentum into smithereens, and they haven't. So I'm really hoping we can just push this one to the side. I don't think the only reason we got hopeful for this one was because of Villa's recent form. I think Villa Park, you don't expect to get anything from that at the moment. We got a point against City. You expect no points from Man City at home and Villa away. We got ourselves a point. We have to say that's a point we didn't expect. Just to talk on the goals, McGinn's goal was just an awesome set piece. Fair play to that set piece coach at Villa, because that was just lovely, really, really nice, lovely finish. And then, I think West Ham made some changes at half time, maybe put a little spring in our step, but it wasn't enough. We didn't really have anything in the final third. And Watkins made it 2-0. It was a pretty simple day at the office for Villa. And West Ham were missing Somerville. That's just a obvious one. We're missing Somerville, hopefully back after the international break. But I would much rather us take our time with him and get him back for 6 games than have rushed him back, maybe got 3 points against Villa, but then have him out for the rest of the season. So, just got to push past this one and go again after the international break.
Yeah, tough game this one really because both teams really needed a win. Obviously, Villa's recent run of form it actually sees them in the table order sit 17th, just above Leeds, Burnley, and Tottenham. The last few fixtures have not been kind to Villa, but obviously West Ham are down there in the relegation fight, so they needed the win as well. Yeah, like you said, I think Villa just turned up more than West Ham did on the day.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
I'm pretty good. Have you got anything else to add on to that?
No, I don't think so. I would quite like to brush past this one as quick as possible.
Yeah, same with the next game. To be fair, should we just end the podcast now?
Go on, I'm ready to hear the rant. Go on.
I don't even think I've got one for you, to be honest with you. So this was my first ever game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and look, yeah, Tottenham 0, Forest 3. I'm disappointed. Well, no, actually, I was fuming. I was fuming because you'll have seen it, won't you? You'll have seen how the fans all turned out before the game. We welcomed
It
this.
looked awesome.
It was a great atmosphere. Really good. The fans put on an absolute show yesterday. There was flares and all sorts going off, and there was drummers, and it was just chaotic. There was trumpeters walking down the street. It was mad. It was a very very good atmosphere, and the fans turned up and the players just didn't, Grace. And that's it's a shame because the club were well aware that the fans had been organising this. I think Tudor even came out and sort of commented on it, saying how much he appreciates it. The players were coming out saying how much they appreciate that we're still behind them even after a rough season. I think there was a message from the captain as well before the game with Romero on social media and stuff like that. And it, in terms of the actual game, okay, the first half I didn't think we were actually that bad. I thought we actually dominated the first half most of it. We just didn't do anything with the ball. Did you get to see much of this?
I didn't see it live because West Ham was on at the same time, and I just was concentrating on that absolute pile of dog shit. So, yeah, I didn't see much of that, but I have seen the highlights.
Yeah, fair enough. XG, we spoke about that on what our thoughts are, but 0.31. That tells you everything that we need to know. And we had 52% possession. It felt like we had a lot more than that, but we had a lot more shots on target than they did in the first half. Yeah, look, we just didn't do it. We didn't do anything with the ball. I think we had a good chance where Richarlison played it across, and I don't think this was shown on Match of the Day, which surprised me because it was a very, very good chance. Richarlison played it across, Sankey slid in, and he just narrowly missed it. It was just arrived a little bit too late. It attacked it into an open goal. So yeah, that was a good chance for Tottenham. And again, we concede from a set piece. How many times we've seen that from Tottenham this season? My problem, and I think you've spoke about this in the past as well, so we know about the midfield issue that they've got. How many goals have we conceded where we've just given the opposition so much room? And look at the Gibbs White. I know you're going to break it down for me in a minute, but the Gibbs White goal, how are you letting him have that much room in the box? He had acres of space.
Mm.
Yeah, I just very, very deflated. The second half, we come out 1-0 down and we played like we was 1-0 up and we was trying to protect it. It was just sideways and backwards and there was just nothing. There was no ideas, there was no spark, there was no creativity. And Forest took full advantage of it.
Yeah, I couldn't really agree more in terms of what I've seen from the highlights. I mean, yeah, I'll go through the goals. 1-0 Forest, it was Jesus. It was a corner and an absolute bullet of a header, to be fair. Really nice finish. 2-0 was the Gibbs White goal. It's just gonna, I mean, what was the goal I broke down? Was it Iwobi? I think it was Iwobi, the Iwobi goal against you lot, where it just pretty much summed up the massive gap in between the midfield and the defence. And this was exactly that again. Gibbs White had so much time. He just had time to do what he wanted with it. And he's dangerous as it is. I just sort of watched Tell just watching him. Like he was just watching him. He didn't make any sort of effort to try and get to it. He was just watching him, which was sad. And then, actually, to be fair, I have to give credit to Forest here. That the third goal, the Awoniyi goal, it was a lovely crossing from, was it Nico Williams? Really nice, and Awoniyi was just in the perfect space. And I actually really enjoyed that goal. I think the goals were actually very good goals, from a neutral point of view.
They were good, but Tottenham could have done a lot better with all three of them. Like
Absolutely.
you should never. Why are you letting him get a header away like that? Again, I think he had a lot of space on that sort of corner. Gibbs White had all the time in the world and all the room that he wanted to play with for the second goal, and the third goal I think Danzo could have done better as well. I know you wanted to point out Morgan Gibbs White's goal. I actually thought Vicario could have done a bit better with that.
Yes, no, I that is something I absolutely will be highlighting. I do agree. I think Vicario can do better.
And I think when I saw it, I thought, and when I saw it, I actually thought he saved it, until because he sort of like looped up a bit, didn't it? And then you sort of saw the net ripple from where I was sat in the God's door. I was sat on the roof, to be fair. But I will just say, by the way, I've been to the stadium plenty of times, but not for an actual game. The stadium's unbelievable. It absolutely
Is it?
every time, man. It's like being just sat in a massive ball, and it was just yeah, it was the atmosphere was great despite the result. But yeah, Vicario. I think what he's tried to do is get down and try to catch it and hold on to it. And I think it'd have been better just throwing anything at it, just throw a leg at it, palm it away. Like I know it's always dangerous to palm it away anyway, but with stuff like that, it was a risk and it fell through him. Yeah, I mean I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm a striker, so I don't really care how it goes in. But I think yeah, I do think he could have done a lot better.
Yeah, and I think Vicario is lacking in a lot of confidence, to be fair to him. But I think as a keeper, you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses. And I think this is something, just using West Ham, for example, Hermansen, he's not the biggest goalkeeper in the world. There are going to be things he's not going to get to, but one thing he's very good at doing is parrying the ball away from danger and holding on to the ball. He could have gone for that catch and probably would have it would have been a solid catch. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's something. I think Vicario. I imagine Vicario is quite lost in what he's good at and what he's maybe struggles with at the moment. He's going to be out, isn't he, for a month or so because he's getting a hernia removed. Am I right?
Yeah, you are right. And to be fair, like this doesn't excuse his bad performances because if it's that bad, don't play. But
Mm.
to be fair, to play with a hernia, he's braver than me.
Yeah, Mark Noble did it for a whole season, and we were all like, "What? How did you do that?"
Yeah, but yeah, look, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that's the reason why he's being poor because it isn't. I don't think there's a lot of other question marks over him as well. And look, I do think he's gone in the summer. He's moving back to Italy. I think, not confirmed, but very very heavily linked with like is it Inter Milan? I think he's linked with or AC Milan. So he's moving away in the summer, and I think yeah, it's not. Thank you, Vicario, for what you've done. You won the Europa League with Tottenham, so you'll be forever remembered. But probably time to move on.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You got anything else to say on this one?
No, like I said, I'm just disappointed, really disappointed because the fans did turn up. The fans really, really did turn up to put on an absolute show, and that doesn't give us the right to go on to win the game. But you'd have liked to have seen us or seen the place fight a little bit more.
What do you think this does? Try and put yourself in a neutral point of view. I know it's hard, but what do you think this does for the relegation battle? Because this was a big one. This one felt big across the board in that relegation battle. What do you think this result is going to do for the relegation battle?
It's tough because I think if Tottenham had won that game after the performance with Atletico Madrid and then beating Forest, that would and excuse the pun, I think that would have spared on Tottenham quite heavily
Mhm.
to go on and stay up and probably survive and give them the kick. Tottenham have this habit before international breaks of losing and taking on bad results, and it doesn't sit well with me because it's too long. I think 3 weeks now until Tottenham play, which is fantastic. I don't have to be depressed for another 3 weeks. But it lingers, and you don't want that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't want this hanging over your head, and there's now question marks over Tudor, and like what we spoke about, his father passing away. And I think this probably is the right time to say, look, go and focus on the loss of your father. Don't worry about the
Hmm.
club. We'll make a change, and we'll just, I don't know, get Harry Redknapp in, or Mason to do the last 8 games, whatever's left. I don't want. I think for his health and his mental stability as well, I don't think he needs all of this on top of what's going on with his family bereavement as well. In terms of the relegation fight, I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? Not
Yeah.
from a neutral point of view, it's exciting. I think I think Tottenham could be going down, Grace. I really can't see us going. And where do our next results come from? And we've said it for weeks, haven't we? I just can't see us winning a game of football.
Yeah, yeah. I think this one, and I heard someone say 3-0. It wasn't a 1-0 loss. This was a 3-0 loss. This was, and I think that does make a difference.
Yeah, it's kind of harsh because, like, I think we lost 3-0 to him in the reverse fixture as well. And I think that the time, I can't really remember to look back at it, but when we lost at the City Ground 3-0, it was deserved 3-0. I actually think this one flattered Forest a little bit in terms of, like I said, I thought the first half we played really, really well. We just didn't do anything with it. We was all over them, but yeah, we just didn't produce anything. And Forest had a bit more of a killer instinct in the second half, and that's why it finished 3-0. I don't think it deserved to be 3-0, but yeah, they, let me just have a look at the table real quick because even though Forest have won that game, it's still incredibly tight.
Incredibly tight. It's one game difference.
Between, if we're excluding Burnley and Wolves, I think we're all fairly confident that them two are still down. West Ham are on 29, Tottenham on 30, Forest on 32, and Leeds on 33. Palace on 39. I'd say that's the cut off. They're safe. So it's
Yeah.
between Leeds, Forest, Tottenham, and West Ham. Yeah, spanning between 29 points and 33 points. It's effectively it's one, 2 games, and it could be a swing either way. So yeah, from a neutral point of view, it's fantastic. And I think the fixtures. I don't think Tottenham's fixtures are very kind to them either. They've still got to play Chelsea, and we'll lose that one. I think we've still got to play Leeds as well, which that'll be a big game. We need to. I say that's a must win. I think the Forest was a must win game.
Yeah. I think it was a 6 pointer. I definitely think it was
Yeah, it
in
was.
terms of just getting it over a relegation rival, you know. I did just want to mention, sorry, I'll stop your suffering in a minute. I did just want to mention you played Romero and Van der Ven back at centre back for this one. And I think we mentioned having them two in there as being, yeah, on paper the strongest option, but are they the right people at the moment to have as your backline and Romero as your leader? You know, do you think that might have had some sort of an effect?
Well, Van der Ven came off at half time. I don't know if that was actually because of injury or because tactical reasons. I'm not quite sure. He played at left back. I'd have played Souza. I think he's yeah, all right. He's a kid, but I think he's got everything to prove in the world. So he's going to go out there and he's going to fight. He don't want that on his record because Souza's probably one of the players that will have to play Championship football next season because he's not going to have much resale value. He's got no
Hmm.
experience to sell him on to a higher club or anything like that. So yeah, he wouldn't want that on his resume. I'm surprised after the Champions League display that Xavi Simons didn't start.
Yeah,
Very surprised with that one. I thought Archie Gray on as well. Just throw that out. I thought he was fantastic. Well, not fantastic. That's probably a bit too over complimentary, but he was very good. He looked probably the best player on the pitch for me.
I
Um,
think he has been. He has been recently. For me, he's the one, but he's the type of player that you need because he's just hungry. He's just he will not. He's the type that's going to go and play Championship football next season if they go down. I think. I don't see him moving really. Maybe get a January transfer, but I don't see him moving in the summer. And I just think he you need 11 Archie Grays at the moment, and you don't have them.
yeah, he's spot on. He's spot on. Look, I mean, Xavi Simons didn't really change the game when he came on. I think it was we already 3-0 down when he came on. I think might be
I
2.
don't know.
Um, I'm surprised he didn't start. Same with Conor Gallagher, I think as well. Like, all right, he hasn't ripped it up since signing us, but he's not the. is he the type of player to go get your goals week after week, or is he just that
No.
solid central midfielder? He's just. I, I thought Papi Matar was poor yesterday. He gave the ball quite a lot, and I love Sarr. I think his quality, but he didn't have his best game yesterday, and the changes came quite late on. I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, look, it's tough, but yeah, to answer your question, I don't think is Dragusin. Is he still? He's not injured, is he? He's been back recently. Was he part of the concussion protocol? I don't know. I don't know why he wasn't playing.
I think he played against Liverpool, didn't he?
Let me have a look at. Was he on the bench? Oh, he was on the bench. Yeah, I don't know why I'm even questioning because I don't think Dragusin is that great of a defender. But yeah, I think Kevin Danzo has been superb as well. By
Mhm.
the way, and I think him and one of Romero Van de Ven should have been on there. And it's mad because we was talking about them two being one of the best centre back pairings in the league.
Saliba versus Gabriel type conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's odd. I think there's but it's not their footballing ability; it's their attitude in it and their leadership skills. And I think people have even called for Archie Gray to take the armband on, and I'm not opposed to it. I don't really care. But yeah, it's Romero's a very big personality, and he probably a very loud figure in the dressing room as well. Van
But
der,
is he loud for the right reasons?
no,
This is my question because I think a lot of us, I think our upturning results at West Ham have really been since Paqueta's been out of the picture, and he was quite a big personality. And I wouldn't necessarily say at the time that it was really that bad of a thing because he was loud and I do think he was Brazilian, he was passionate. But whether that noise was actually working is a whole different conversation. And I think you mentioned it. I think I said Saliba versus Gabriel. I meant Saliba and Gabriel
yeah,
versus the pairing type thing. Um, and I just think Saliba and Gabriel, they're probably reasonably big personalities, but they're quite complementary. They're not. I don't think either of them would put their foot in it. Whereas I just don't. I imagine Romero's quite unpredictable in many ways, and I just don't think football's used to those figures anymore, really.
it's interesting because the thing is, these South American players they are very very passionate, and it's one of them where when you're flying, that passion, the fans love it.
Yeah.
And I still love how passionate he is, even the fact that we're in the position that we're in. And he's calling out the board and stuff. But I also there's part of me that just thinks just focus on the football, mate. Win on the pitch, and then you can worry about the back behind the scenes stuff later on. And I just think calling out the board and yeah, it's tough in it because technically he's right. What Romero is saying about the board is correct. It just when we're in the situation we're in, it just doesn't help, and it's a lot of noise. And I just don't think the players need it. They just need to focus on surviving and staying up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. But yeah, I mean, I'd have started Souza and then Xavi Simons personally, and possibly even Conor Gallagher. But I'm not the manager.
Yeah, I just sorry, I don't mean to drag this conversation on, but I think it's a fascinating one because I just think, when you look at someone like Romero and you look at Archie Gray, for example, they're probably two opposite personalities. I imagine Archie Gray isn't the most vocal in the dressing room, but at least he's doing his talking on the pitch. He's not. You maybe need that. You don't know how people react. People have different personalities. Maybe Romero's looking at the lack of passion in the dressing room as being a horrendous thing and that being the problem. Whereas others are going to go, we do need to do our talking on the pitch, not necessarily shouting out about the board and all that sort of stuff. I just think maybe I don't know, maybe there's an issue with communication. Maybe there's a differing of opinions and personalities. And it's just, yeah, I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of what it is because I imagine it's a lot of things.
Again, that's sort of interesting itself because this is probably one of these situations. Let's say, well, either way, Tottenham go down or stay up. It'll be, and we said this before about other subjects in the past, but it'll be one of them in sort of like 10, 15 years' times on podcasts that's spoken about like, oh, your time at Tottenham, it was a difficult time.
Mhm.
And there'll be so many stories that come out in 10 to 15 years' time about this sort of situation and what's going on. And it's a shame that Amazon aren't doing their documentary there because it'd be an incredible telly. And I think even Arsenal fans would be tuning in to watch that one. But yeah, well, we don't know. I think personally, I think you should just shut up and get on with it at the minute and just survive.
Hmm.
And if you survive and you want to leave, sorry, I know we've been spoken about this for ages now. Do you know if Tottenham turned around to me and said, "Come and take control of the last 8 games," the first thing I'd do is I'd go in there and I'd just say, "Look, I know a lot of you want to leave in the summer. If you want to leave in the summer, we will sort that out. But at the minute, fight to stay up because you do not want that on your CV. I don't care if you're leaving in the
Yeah.
summer or not. If you want to leave to Madrid, Madrid still don't." Like they won't be happy that you've been relegated. That's still going to put a question mark over you and your character and ability. And I'd say, look, get to the end of these 8 games. There's a World Cup. You can focus on that and do what you want, and Tottenham will restructure in the summer window, and that's what needs to happen. And rather than worrying about what sort of like worrying about the futures, and all of them will be on the phone to their agent, and I get that. Focus on what's happening now. Deal with it in the summer.
But also, and look, I'm going to point at it from a psychological perspective. Maybe feed into that. Even if they do want to leave, they their performances are not going to make them appealing at the moment. Shop window.
Well,
If you want to leave, show the teams what they're going to get. Do you know what I mean? If that's where your mindset is, you still need to be performing because you're in the shop window.
yeah, 100%. And this is why I'm saying I think you should like focus on surviving first, and you can deal with your agent in the summer because it's a World Cup, and people go mental after the World Cup. You know what I mean? Mickey Van der Ven's been largely poor for this season. I think, well, I mean, he scored quite a few goals for us in the first half of it, but largely he's been quite poor for the season. If he has a good World Cup, agents will be knocking left, right, and centre.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or not
Yeah,
agents,
yeah. The season is
but
almost a bit like that, isn't it? When there's a World Cup.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, look, just focus on surviving and worry about that. And I think Tottenham. And look, and I think again, I don't want to keep going on about it, but there needs to be question marks over Vinay Venkatesham and Johan Lang. I've been very clear on them too, and I think bringing in ex Arsenal and Aston Villa rejects essentially was never a good idea. I think Tottenham saw it as a coup rather than a business move, and it hasn't paid off for them at all. There was also the ones that brought in Igor Tudor, and I think
Mhm.
there's got question marks over that. And yeah, like I said about his dad and stuff, but it doesn't take away the fact that his tactics were poor from this game, from the outset, and there's still a question mark over him. And I think he does need to go, and we need to get so like you said, like fresh ideas and something going because there's nothing out there on the pitch.
No, and I think as well, it's another thing. Look, football fans aren't the smartest people in the world, but to be fair, I think we all saw it coming as soon as he got appointed. It just felt like a silly move, that was a really crucial time you're making that change. Yes, you're not going to be bringing in some European brilliant tactician. You need somebody who's going to make you survive, and he was not the right person. And arguably, and the sort of argument of him coming in was that he tends to hit the ground running with teams, but has he ever hit the ground running with a team that are in the thick of it in relegation? It's a tough league to be in a relegation battle with.
No, because I think what sort of like his career highlight was dragging Juventus from Europa League to Champions League, and that was considered a successful at the time because it was what's the word like insurmountable that Juventus wouldn't make Champions League. It was almost sort of a given, and there was in this like sort of situation where there wasn't going to make it. He came in, he pulled them out, but that's pulling someone from Europa League to Champions League is completely different to pulling someone out of relegation fight. And I think
100%.
before we jumped on, is it Addy Hutter who used to manage what was his last club? His last Monaco was his last club. He's now being rumoured to come in and sort of take out. Mate, that's another manager who's got no Premier League experience, and I don't want to see it.
There's a reason there's relegation specialists. There's a reason because they are dogfight specialists. You are in a dogfight. And this is what I don't think a lot of teams who don't experience relegation battles very often, and you're fortunate to not. But I think this is something they have to understand. As a team that go through relegation battles fairly often, it is a dogfight. You are scrapping for everything. There's no pretty football really involved. You're scrapping for every point, and you need to have a manager that comes in and just sticks a 4-4-2 in. Do you know what I mean? That just doesn't do any of this complicated shit and just gets the defence sorted out, removes that massive gap that I've been barking on about for months. You just think it feels quite simple, but they just can't make a move that just is ugly, but it's necessary.
Yeah, it's mad because you've been speaking about this gap for months, and it's like, how have they not picked up on this by now? So they must have, sure, they must have picked up on it. All the analysis and that they get after the games and in between games, I just don't get it. But yeah, like you said, there's a reason why when someone's in a relegation fight, people talk about Big Sam and Neil Warnock and Harry Redknapp and Tony Pulis, Ian Holloway, all these sort of managers that were
Pardew,
largely
Deitch.
yeah, there's a reason why people have talked about this because that was their bread and butter was just to get clubs to survive, not
Yeah.
foreign managers who have got no Premier League experience. It's mad. But look, I think we've kind of taken this last sort of like 20 minutes into the Tottenham Hotspur podcast, so we'll move on.
And
Give us your game of the week.
my game of the week, I'm giving it to the Friday night kickoff. I've gone Bournemouth Man United as my game of the week.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very very good argument. Oh, I forgot about this. I played that off so casually as if I knew what I was talking
You
about.
did. You definitely did.
I'm going to give it to Everton Chelsea. I think Everton put in a fantastic performance, and it'll go well because I have actually got one. It'll go well with my game player of the week. So I'm going to give it to Beto. I think he was. Have I stole yours?
No, because I
Oh,
was going to choose Beto, but I wanted to make a political statement and say Welbeck, justice for Welbeck. Getting in the England squad, he's my player of the week, Welbeck, because I thought he was awesome. Justice, literally on my notes, it says player of the week, Welbeck, and then in brackets, justice.
that is what we will go with this week because that is a delightful hashtag that you've just created there. Since you've not even thrown one out, Grace, I'm having to do your work for you.
I'm sorry.
But
I
yeah,
said delicious. I didn't say delightful.
delicious. Is that what we're going with this week? Okay. That's your thing. I'm counting on you to make t-shirts delightful on it. That's our merch. Um, yeah, no, I'm going to go for Beto for my Everton for game of the week because I thought their performance was superb, and again Pickford with some vital saves. He's been
Yeah.
towards like the business end of the season. And Beto for my player of the week. It was just fantastic. It was, like you said, it was used very very well. They played to his strengths, and it was a very sexy performance.
Ah, there's yours. There's yours. Love it.
Come on, give me yours.
Welbeck.
Oh yeah, you did say that, didn't you? Hashtag, oh my God. Hashtag justice for Welbeck. Fair enough. Yeah, I forgot you'd mentioned that. Um, yeah,
Hashtag justice for Welbeck.
yeah. Well, that is it. We're going to get that trending. That's never going to take off, Grace. You know that, right?
Oh, I know.
What we are doing next week, it's international break. Not for us because we don't have a break. We're going to jump on a podcast and talk about. We'll do a little bit of England chat. We'll talk a little bit about the England squad and who you think should go to America. And are England playing between now and when we next record?
Friday night.
So yes, 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 they are. Yeah, we'll do a little bit of England chat then and see what's going on there. We're also going to look into clubs, aren't we? Are we doing this? Are we confirmed?
Yeah.
Confirmed? Okay, it's confirmed. We're going to look into the relegation fight and what it'll mean for each club. Mainly, probably West Ham and Tottenham because that's our area. But we'll try and have a look and dive there into the other teams as well, and sort of see what their knock-on effects of them being relegated, which will be very interesting from a Tottenham and West Ham point of view, I think. And yeah, I think that the impact for them two teams will be a lot bigger than the others. I think the others have sort of already accepted their fate, or could maybe see their fate potentially coming. Whereas I don't think West Ham and Tottenham wanted or saw like this coming. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That word
Hmm.
is terrible. But yeah, not really sort next week's episode to you guys, but it'll be very, very good. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look into how it affects the clubs, what players are likely to leave, what the finances might look like. That's going to be horrific. Um, yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But yeah, that's what we're going to do next week, and that'll be coming out next Monday. I don't know what the date is. I am going to tell you because I don't care.
The 30th is the one we'll be recording it.
See why you're my co-host because you're so good. Yeah, make sure you. I said it off the top, but make sure you like, follow, subscribe, do everything on all these platforms that you do. Every content creator tells you to do it, so I don't need to drill it into you. Grace, anything else that you want to add on this week?
No, I am good. I'm looking forward to next week actually. And you talking about the finances, just a little sneak preview. I'll be going into the taxpayers, the impact on the taxpayer, when it comes to West Ham's finances, because believe it or not, there is one. So yeah, just a little sneak preview for that.
Jesus Christ. I thought he was going to come out with some Reform UK political statement. So, like,
No,
there's no
that's
time
not that bag.
right. You know, when Reform's been mentioned, we have to go out and call the end to the pod. Um, Grace, thank you for this week. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. It'll be good. Guys, thank you for tuning in. This has been Beyond the Whistle. Bye bye.
Bye bye.